Hopefulness 3.0. I don't know why I keep saying fucking 2.0. I got some hooks that are hooked. Those first two I put down a little too low by accident, but whatever. So I put the other three up a little higher. Cool. I also got some hooks over here under my not even painting. Although apparently, according to my little leveler on the phone, it's relatively even. It's not like it matters. And I can always turn the paint. I can always move the painting, rotate it as needed because I got it just the right orientation for all of them. I got the spacing on them, on the, you know what I mean, on the hooks. I almost thought I turned it off. So I got the spacing on the hooks just right so that I could ensure. Man, it's all kinds of crooked. I need a better tripod and maybe use my end table that I have, but it's got a lamp and stuff on it, so I don't want to. I was going to make no coffee today, but then I just got done taking care of some stuff. And I'm like, fuck, I don't want some coffee because I have more stuff I got to take care of today. I went and I got my money order for my rent. It cost me $5 goddamn to get a fucking money order for $44. One might say, why complain? You're only paying $44 for rent. And I'm like, shut up. Water pressure in this place is finicky at best. Like the other night I took a shower and it was like it was crying. The shower was crying for me or something because it was so bad when it came to the water pressure. Now the water I'm going to use for this is actually the water that is currently in the cup. So let's see what I can do with the sleight of hand. Boom. Oh crap, I forgot. It says to stir briskly for 1 minute. I don't have a timer going. Last time I did this for 1.5 minutes. I don't know how long this is going to be or to take. You know what I keep forgetting to put in here is my vanilla. I'll tell you this. So I'm a big rum and coke fan. I prefer rum and coke and lime, and I generally prefer Malibu and coke and lime. Malibu just tastes so much better, and it cuts away from the bite of the rum. Well, the other day when I still had some coke left over after I had bought the pizza last week, I was still, I was making a couple of rum and cokes, as one might do when they've just moved in. Maybe. I don't know. I don't tell you how to live your life. You don't tell me how to live my life. I just don't really have to do that. Just do this. But anyway, I was doing that, and I was like, what would happen if I threw a little bit of vanilla in there to kind of basically make it like a vanilla Coke and rum? And let me tell you, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. One of the things I like to do in my coffee, other than putting in the sugar and the salt, is throwing in a little bit of vanilla extract as well. It's especially better when it's hot because the alcohol in the extract has it's more volatile, and so it'll usually evaporate out some. You're not going to evaporate all of it. Even when you cook alcohol, you're not really getting rid of that much alcohol. Like if you're lucky, you're probably getting rid of about half. Yeah, throughout my box. But at least I have another box right here, right in front of me, at my feet. And the box that I had was, while big enough, still small enough to fit into the trash chute. So, win-win. They're having some kind of weird issues getting my, getting me the email for the rent payment option. So next time I go get, if I need to get the money order, they said it shouldn't take more than a week for it to get rectified. We will see, of course. But I don't know if I said it already, but I'm gonna say it again anyway. Pay your people better. Healthcare also, that doesn't pay rent. I didn't pay my rent with healthcare. I paid it with money. So, pay your employees with money and pay them more, so they don't fucking riot or anything. Or, just mass quit. Whatever. And also treat them better as well. So anyway, I threw the little box away, and then of course they were having a hard time getting me the rental thingy, and because Wells Fargo, for some goddamn reason, charges its customers $5 for a goddamn money order. If I have to get another one, I will be going to another location. There's Western Union down the street. I don't know if they charge. There's also a couple other money order places in the area too. I don't know if they charge or not. We will see. I'm throwing a little bit of a hill in this. I used to also put, when I had it, I'm not going to be doing it. I like the idea of it, of molasses. But the problem with molasses is that it's a kind of a pain in the ass. Now this is a brick of espresso powder. The countertop was like either wet enough, I think just slightly wet enough, and I landed it just right that it got stuck for half a second. So that was interesting. Oh man. Yesterday sucked. I think I was still sick. Because today, I will say, maybe it has something to do with the AC or not. I don't usually have the AC on at night, just because it's usually cool enough that I don't need to. But I didn't have it on at night last night, and I only had to get up once to hawk and spit into the sink. So that's progress, I guess. I have the phone oriented wrong. It's supposed to be rotated this way, but it's whatever. Yeah, I didn't fucking do anything yesterday other than apply those hooks. So despite not being wanting to be productive, I was still productive. And a little bit. I got a lot of dishes I still got to take care of. And on top of the dishes that I got to take care of, I've also got to clean up a bit. One of the things I got to clean up is so I got to clean up both of my pans. I made another Just Baby last night. It was okay, but yeah, I got to just clean up that pan first. Still trying to figure out the situation with preheat. I think if I just turn the oven mode on, it starts to preheat. I might be wrong. What I'm gonna do later is that I've got the AC set at 72 because I want it to be pretty chilly in here. Because later, what I'm gonna do after I start doing a little bit of cleaning in here, I am going to just turn that on, and after I clean the cast iron, oh, the espresso powder did not dissolve. Fun. Oh well. Whatever. But I'm going to clean up the cast iron, clean up this countertop a bit. Tonight I'm going to go back to Smart and Final, see about some foodstuffs, but also see about maybe a hand broom, because I want to try to brush out that vacuum cleaner. And I just want like a basic ass hand broom, nothing special, nothing fancy. Because then, once that's cleaned out, I'll just put the bag and the filter back in, because the filter's in there, it's just I've got to clean it off. Brush that off as well onto like the pit in the area, and then reassemble everything, put a new bag in, and then vacuum it all up into the bag. And then maybe vacuum a little bit later too. I gotta say though, I still hate waking up in the day, just at all, in general. I'm starting to fall back into some old habits. Like this place is smaller than the last place I had, but it didn't really matter. It doesn't really matter how big it is. If it's big or small, I will figure out how to fuck it all up. I'll figure out how not to be the more responsible version of me. It's too easy for me. And I guess one of the things I can do to help mitigate that, I might even put some hooks over here, just so I can move the painting over there. I don't know, we'll see. I never know which one I've got. So I've got a flash on here, and then I've got what looks like 3 cameras, and I never know which one to look at. So I've got 4 little eyeballs staring at me. Only one of which I know not to look at, and I usually look at it because it's the white one. I do know that, like, I am making progress. So as much as I still have to do, at least I know that I'm getting things done. And that's hard for me to recognize. You know, it's difficult because, like, I don't see my progress. You know, the funniest thing is, speaking of progress, like, one of the things that I prefer to do is to do things where there is a visible progress. Like, there is an obvious middle, the start, there's an obvious middle, there's an obvious end. Like, that's why sometimes cooking works for me. Why does it feel like no matter which way I focus this, the phone just wants to fall back into the same exact positioning? Let's rotate you just a little bit, tilt you forward maybe. But like, so like, okay, as a for instance, vacuuming. Vacuuming is a process that has an obvious start, middle, and end. And generally, I don't have a problem with it. I have a problem starting it. You know, the activation energy is an issue. But like with washing fucking dishes, there's no enjoyment in that shit. Even though there is an obvious start, middle, and end, like, I don't know, maybe there's some enjoyment, and I just don't feel it because there's other aspects to it that I hate. You know, I hate having my hands being hot and or, you know, filthy, even when I, like, because I'm constantly, you know, getting them dirty and clean, or dirty and clean, dirty and clean, and it's just a nasty process. I don't like the sensation. I don't like the feeling of it. Sure, I could get rubber gloves, but I've used those before, and that does not work out well for me because I don't like the heaviness and the sensation of the rubberness. And then also, no matter what, I always get water inside of them, and so that's just a no-go. And so it's always a quandary. It always sucks. Which is why, you know, I always just try to do an amount, you know, more than basic cleanup on a regular basis if I can. You know, I try to at least clean what's dirty, usually. Now, when I start getting into the bad habit of it all, It's once I've gotten to the point where, everything has a place and blah, blah, blah. And then I basically only start cleaning right before I have to cook with the very things that are being cleaned. Instead of having them being cleaned and put away. And that's an issue in of itself. A frustrating one at that, too. So, just the daily grind of not only getting up, thinking about, like, the basic stuff, like feeding myself, clothing myself, doing basic outside of the house necessities, and then having to maintain all this other shit. It's frustrating. Like, I still don't have a fitted sheet for my bed, so I'm still sleeping on the duvet, which isn't much of a duvet, to be honest. It's like, I have an idea of what organized looks like, and it never comes. It never happens. That's frustrating because, like, I feel like, and I'm probably wrong, but I feel like if at least my life is organized, I will feel calmer. But I don't think that's true, which is probably why I fall back into the same shit I do. I also hate myself because of, decades, really, of priming and bullshit from parents and stuff. And so, why try to embetter something you hate? Why try to make it better? Because, think about it this way. As an example, okay? I hate the current president to the point where I try to use his name as little as possible. About the only time I will ever do it is if it's in a quote or if I'm looking it up. Or if I just happen to be, talking to somebody, just randomly, it's happened a couple times, especially when I was living at this shelter, where, it's better to use the person's name. But generally speaking, I hate that person so much. Not only do I not want to speak their name, because I don't want to give them the remotest sense of attention, because that person really likes their name being spoken by other people. But also, I want that person very much in the ground. It doesn't matter whether he's breathing or not. I want him in the ground. And so why would I want, and not because, and I do not believe that this person, in any sense, is somebody who can be reformed. He's already fucking 80. He's so set in his ways. He does so much of the same shit he's been doing. His health is degrading. His body is physically degrading. There is no chance in hell that he will ever try to reform and become a good person. He'll try to pray for forgiveness on his deathbed, and he might, and I say this with very little certainty, he might say some grand, some broad phrase about how he could have done better, but it would have been far too late. I don't want anything good for him. I want him gone. Okay? And the reason I brought him up is because in many ways I think similarly about myself. I want me gone. Now, I'd rather it be, in a less painful way. I'd rather, if I'm going to be in the ground, I'd rather not be breathing. I'd rather that my ceasing to breathe have happened above earth. And, in a way that I'm not aware of at all. For it to happen either in the blink of an eye or to happen basically in my sleep or whatever. So that there is no real sensation of the cessation. Because, even when I'm get slightly uncomfortable, I start to have a fucking panic attack, and I feel claustrophobic, even when I'm not even closed off in any way. It's also one of the reasons why I usually stand around my house with just my underwear on, because I just don't like wearing clothes. They are constricting, and they just bring about that sense of claustrophobia. Not significantly enough for me to have a panic attack, but they help. They help the panic attacks if they do happen. And so, if I hate myself, why would I want to better myself? So I'm constantly struggling, I'm in a constant tug of war against that shit. And there is no real winner in a tug of war. Because ultimately, tug of war is itself a dangerous game. And if the rope breaks, you're all very much going to get hurt. Possibly even die. Like, a really big game of tug of war is actually deadly and should never happen. But that's what I'm constantly dealing with. Like, I have to fight the urge to hate myself every time I clean something. Every time I clean up the room. Every time I take my medication. Every time I take a shower. Every time I brush my teeth. I'm fighting the urge to hate myself every time I do those things. To hate being alive. To hate being awake. To hate breathing. Because I do not experience joy. And like, I barely even experienced levels of contentment. Like yesterday. Yesterday I couldn't even feel contentment because I was already woke up on the wrong side of the bed, as it were, because of fucking daylight savings bullshit. And it's like, I don't want to fucking move to Indiana or Arkansas for that shit. Or, sorry, Arizona. I definitely don't want to move to Arkansas. And it's just like, give me a fucking break with this bullshit ass. And I never feel like I get a break. Ever. And so often I'm just like, why do I keep fighting? Why try? Why care? You know? It's like I've basically stopped playing video games for the most part. I'm still going to hop on later and try to play some more Hollow Knight. I'll probably play for like half an hour or so because I don't enjoy that game. I just want to get to the end and see what happens. It's a sunk cost fallacy at this point. So I'm just going to cheat my way through to the best of my ability while still using no cheats. I'm going to look at stuff on the maps and shit like that and try to find my way through and crap like that. I'm going to use outside information. I'm going to use insider info, if you will, to better improve my gameplay. Because I'm terrible at it, and I hate it. And I don't know what I'm supposed to do in that fucking game. And I'm 14 hours in, and I'm only like I'm barely halfway into like clearing the map. It's just like, and the boss fights are hard as fuck. The whole thing just feels futile. And in so many ways, it feels like life. It feels like I'm getting nowhere. I'm getting nothing done. I'm never in a position where I feel like things are actually in my favor. Like, the other day when I was on there, I was like, nothing about where I'm at in the game. Like, it even changed parts of the fucking, like, easy areas and made them hard again. And I'm like, when the fuck did this happen? And it's like, why? Why does this game do this? Why is the game constantly hard? I always feel like I'm an underdog. I always feel like I'm underleveled, so to speak. I have insufficient power. And that's what I feel like in life. Which is why I kind of hate Hollow Knight. Like, this video game reminds me of my life. So, I get no real enjoyment out of it. Even when I beat a boss, I'm not like, yeah, fuck yeah. I don't get that. I'm like, fuck you. I fucking hate you. I'm glad you're gone. Get the fuck out of my life. Fuck this noise. Why did it have to be so goddamn hard? Kind of shit. Like, I get it. Games should have, difficulty scaling. And I understand that. You know, most of the time, it's hard in the beginning, and then it's less hard in the middle, and then at the end, depending on how you play it, the hardness scales again. Like Baldur's Gate 3 is great with that, because like even if you're level 12, you don't necessarily have all the good equipment, for one, because all of the hard fights are where you get the good equipment for the most part. And so you've got to go pick and choose a hard fight in order to determine which of the good equipment you're going to get. And depending on like group composition, you may not even be able to use pieces of the equipment. And so it's like, there's a sense of choice for one. The ability to actually move around is rarely ever hindered. Like in the first act, yeah, you've got your in the very beginning of the first act, when you actually land and you get off the Nautiloid, you are cordoned off in a way before you fight that first goblin fight. Now it's possible for you to go into the crypt where Withers is first and get a little extra experience. It's always recommended that you do that. Because, you know, there's just more stuff that you can acquire, you know, and there's like scrolls and books and shit. And I would say loot as much crap as you can, because you can then turn around and sell all that stuff. And one thing I didn't know for a while, until I think I was watching Games Done Quick, where they beat Baldur's Gate 3 in like an hour and a half, and he waited for like 5 minutes at the end. Because they wanted to get a donation number. And the way they did it was insanity. But what he said, or one of maybe the guys on the couch said, that like merchants reload their inventory, their general stock. They keep all the stuff that you sold them, but then they replenish all their other stuff after you like sleep or level up. So one of the tricks that you can do is you can get like a hireling, or you can get like Jaheira or something, for instance, into your party. You can level up that character once, exit out of the leveling, right? All together, go back to the merchant, buy and sell whatever you need to, and if they run out of the thing you need, like smoke powder bombs, for instance, which they use a shit ton of, and then go back into the leveling, and then just keep doing that back and forth, back and forth. And I was like, that's fucking crazy. Whoever thought of that is insane. But, you know, that aside, that's not really the point. The point is that, like, Baldur's Gate 3, you can kind of make it as easy or hard as you want, depending on circumstances. You can kind of grind it out and clear every fucking enemy there is and try to do as many quests as possible. Or you can just run through and kill whatever you want, however you want. Or you can, you know, just constantly try to steal shit and be as deceptive as you want. You know, there are ways to go about playing Baldur's Gate 3. But the thing that you can do in that game that you cannot do in fucking Hollow Knight is uncover and know where you've been, like, with accuracy, but also just kind of fucking go wherever you want. Now, I know, Metroidvanias usually always have some way of, like, stopping you for... I get that, that's fine. But part of it also, they kind of give you an idea of where you've been, too. And so Hollow Knight just sucks at that. And therefore, I suck at it. And therefore, it's too hard, and I hate it. Get good? Nope. Get internet. Find out where shit is, figure out what I need to get what, and then go and do those things instead. So that, because I want to because the story seems interesting, but I don't ever know what's happening because I cannot play it long enough to enjoy it. And the same thing is happening with this world, with my life. I do not feel like I can enjoy the story because every day is a struggle just to do the basics. Sure, I'm a very interesting person, but only at the sacrifice of my well-being. So other people find me interesting when they talk to me, but that's not helpful to me. It's not like me being interesting gets me paid. That'd be nice. If me being interesting got me, I don't know, $5,000 a month, sure, that'd be great. I'd be fine. I could pay the full $2,000 or whatever it is. I think it's like $2,400 a month for this place. I'm paying $44. It's just. And I'm a white guy. I've got it easy by comparison. So imagine, let's look at generally who end up being the most ignored in American society. Women of color, be they indigenous women, who often, have the least amount of awareness brought to them, black women, Latino women, etc. Women of color are generally considered chopped liver in this society. And so imagine a woman of color in a similar situation as to myself, mentally and, like mental health wise. I can only imagine what she's going through. And, yes, yesterday was International Women's Day. And I wasn't really totally aware of it because I was going through my own shit. And I can only imagine how much worse it is for a woman of color who is dealing with similar. Because women often are ignored by healthcare professionals. They're usually like, well, you can handle it. It's not that big of a deal. Take an ibuprofen, whatever. I've had that happen before. I can only wonder how much more often it happens. Who knows? That woman of color may be dead because she was ignored by medical professionals and healthcare and whatnot, and just society at large. There's a bit that Dave Chappelle did many years ago, back when he wasn't more of a right-wing asshole, where he had covered two different stories about this. There's this one blonde girl. She was gone for a couple days, and she was like not even that far away from her own home. The kidnappers basically just said, sit here or we'll kill you, and that's it. And then they just left her alone. And she was all over the news. Meanwhile, another girl, similar time frame, a younger black girl, she was taken further away from home. She was able to get out of her restraints and made it back to her house in like a 24-hour period or something. Now, one might say, well, the white girl's story is more compelling because she was gone for more days. But I would say not really. Obviously both of those stories matter because both of these young girls were stolen. They were kidnapped by strangers. It's just the fact that the white girl got the media attention and the black girl got nothing. And that's akin to what happens in this society. If it were a white male, who knows what kind of... But usually white men don't just go missing. They're the ones that go shoot people up. And then, it's like, well, that's just America. That's, a few gun deaths a year is a price that we pay for our liberties, so to speak, to paraphrase a certain now deceased Nazi. But the fallacy of relative privation. Just because somebody has it worse than you doesn't mean that your problems also don't matter. My problems matter to me. They may not matter to you, though. But at least I'm willing to be aware of the fact that other people have problems. But in the meantime, I have to live with me. And my brain that hates me And every day I do small things to try to stop myself from hating myself. But no matter what, every day I still end up hating myself, especially the next day when I wake up. Have fun.